Okay, people, this has pretty much has been the hardest review I've ever done because I'm not trying to make it a straight up rant. I'm trying to be a very fair reviewer. But after watching this show last night and watching the ending, I'm really doing my best not to make it the ultimate rant. So, guys, I'm going to be as fair as I possibly can, save the ending for the ending of the show, and start at the beginning and do my best to not actually make this a rant. Okay, guys, starting off, we actually had John Cena come out to make his noble address about what happened last night. And the funny thing is, the whole overall theme of the show was corporate takeover. And people were getting punished right and left of talking about what Triple H did. So seeing how John Cena came out and was not punished at all really shows you how powerful the Breakfast Club really is in WWE. Because he didn't get touched at all. He just left. And he's gone. He's going to be probably gone for maybe 6 months because of his elbow injury. But then he invited Daniel Bryan to come out. And before Daniel Bryan could even speak, here comes Stephanie. Now, Stephanie has came a long way from her very annoying heel character that she had back in the 90s. But now she's a lot more, I guess, demure compared to how she was back then. Because I guess for her being a mom and wife and all that kind of mellowed her out. But she's still a really good heel. She's a very smart heel. And she's kind of... She pretty much she's a lot smarter than Damien Sandow. She doesn't have to use big words to cut you like a knife. And she practically did everything but stab. And I mean, she literally stabbed Daniel Bryan several times with her words. But Daniel Bryan pretty much got the upper hand. But then his temper got the best of him and he got kicked out. We all knew that he was going to be back at the end of the night. So yeah, not a big deal. But going on from there, we actually had our first match was Cody Rhodes versus Damien Sandow, which was a rehash, a repeat, and rinse and repeat, whatever, from last night's SummerSlam. Well, actually, from Sunday night SummerSlam, because this is done on Tuesday. But why have the same outcome? Like, why have this match and have the same outcome? Makes absolutely no sense, people. And it was really pointless to have this match. But afterwards, we had Brad Maddox, and I'm just going to go into it. Brad Maddox pretty much made a series of matches for those that actually spoke against Triple H. The first match was between Dolph Ziggler and The Shield because of what Dolph Ziggler said against Triple H. Then he was completely decimated and knocked down, and, well, he was just pretty much decimated in the ring. The second match was between The Big Show and The Shield. We all thought that this was going to be a stupid match because The Big Show would take them all out. Wrong. The Big Show became pretty much a big, giant pile of crap in the middle of the ring. Like, literally, they practically took him out. And this was going to go on throughout the entire night. No one can pretty much say anything about Triple H unless they were going to be punished. Let's face it. That is the whole overall thing was the corporate takeover. A very quasi-smug Paul Heyman pretty much came out of the ring and had a segment where he was talking about CM Punk. If CM Punk apologizes, then he will take him back. Do you really think this will happen? No, not really. It's going to pretty much lead to probably in my humble opinion, one of the most best CM Punk segments. Not the ultimate, but it was a great CM Punk segment towards the end of the night. Well, moving on from there, we actually see a backstage segment between the Bellas and the Funkadactyls, saying that the Bellas said that pretty much the Funkadactyls is representing them from the Total Divas show. We all know where it goes from there. It actually leads to the match between the Funkadactyls and AJ versus Layla. Honestly, I thought it was cute how Layla pretty much kind of acted all weird when she lost and trying to be all like AJ, like, oh my gosh, it's not my fault, it's not my fault. I mean, like, this is not Layla. Like, seriously, this whole really ridiculous skipping attitude is not Layla. I can't even stand her music. In my humble opinion, it should be in reverse. I think her music should go to AJ, and Layla should have, well, no, maybe not AJ's music, but I really do feel that she needs to have her music changed. This character is not her. It's just not her at all. I don't like it. I still don't like it. But it ends up going up with the Funkadactyls winning. But here's the thing that really got me. The fact that you actually pulled Naomi's weave and didn't get taken out, because you don't mess with a black girl's weave. Like, that's the one thing that you don't do. You don't mess with a black girl's weave. If you mess with her weave, it's time to throw down. And usually when she's ready to throw down, you don't get up. Like, you're down for the count. And I'm surprised that Layla was not decimated after pulling her weave like that. Seriously. that shows that Naomi really got some restraint, and I'm happy that the Funkadactyls won. The next match was Alberto Del Rio versus Sin Cara. Now, we pretty much all know how this was going to go. It wasn't all of a bad match, but I guess Sin Cara's trying to change his look where he has a whole hoodie thing jumping in the ring. Like, that really does change anything. But honestly, it was a good match. It was a really classic luchador, semi-classic luchador match. Having two luchadors go at it. I love lucha, so honestly, yay. But it pretty much led to a whole promo for Alberto Del Rio, saying that he wants to be a champion that represents all Latinos. He wants to be the champion that represents all those in the barrio, the peasants. I want to be the representative of all people. And then here comes Ricardo Rodriguez, somebody that we haven't seen in a very long time. And honestly, how he says he doesn't see him as a hero, he doesn't see him as anything. But it's amazing how the person he chose to represent now is RVD. Yeah, I really wouldn't pick RVD, to be honest with you. I would love to hear him represent Rey Mysterio, because his announcing fits Rey Mysterio more than anything else. What made it special was his Alberto Del Rio. I mean, that is what made it special, and that's what really put him over, in my humble opinion. But here, RVD, it doesn't fit. It does not fit. But now he's a new representative of RVD, so he's going to pretty much be coming out speaking English, which is not going to sound right. It really isn't. But moving on from there, we end up having people, the Real Americans versus the Primetime Players. Now, honestly, it's all over the YWC and IWC, and how we all know that Darren Young came out of the closet. So actually seeing him out there after he made his declaration is something that a lot of people probably consider to be refreshing. Me, I really did notice that there was a lot of pep in his step. I guess maybe it was a huge weight of it on his shoulders that was lifted up, because you can kind of tell that he had a lot more energy. He had a lot more, pep in his step, if that's the way of saying it. And his chemistry was off the chain. And honestly, guys, I really did kind of notice that the Real Americans really did seem uncomfortable when they were wrestling against Darren Young. That was just something I noticed a little bit, especially Antonio Cesaro. He didn't want any part of him in any move. But, I mean, that's pretty much what I spotted out of it. I'm not trying to really poke out anything racist or anything or discriminatory. I'm just saying what I saw, my perspective. But honestly, it was great for the Primetime Players to have a win, and I'm hoping that their winning streak actually continues to whether they become the champions. There was a segment with Fandango and Foot Locker, and I think Justin Gabriel and Zack Ryder with Foot Locker, and then there was also Ryback bullying someone again in the shower. Blah, next. Moving on from there, pretty much led to one of the most epic promos. Okay, I'm not going to say the most epic, but I will say this. It was an awesome promo with CM Punk and Paul Heyman, because there was one target and one target alone for that night. It was the fat guy in the front row. Oh, yeah. You know, there's always one heckler in the front row that actually takes his entire thing far too seriously, and he feels like he has to put his 2 cents in at the wrong time. Or at least try to start a chant that goes horribly wrong. And he was targeted by not only CM Punk, but by Paul Heyman. That fat guy was literally just humiliated the entire night. But knowing how that fat guy is going to be like, I'm the fat guy. People love me. I'm the fat guy. We all know that's just how it's going to be. Regardless of that, it led to an unsanctioned match between the forgettable one, Curtis Axel, and CM Punk. I call him the forgettable one because you know that he has to be forgettable. If Paul Heyman's all the way at the top of the ramp, you're literally taking your belt back to have him hold it to where he's not anywhere near you, and you just drop it. Like, he really doesn't care that much about you to where he's going to take your belt. And you don't really care much about the belt to see it drop that hard. Yeah, man, you're the IC champion. At least give your belt a little bit of respect. But regardless of that, it actually led to a very nice unsanctioned match. One thing I haven't seen in a very long time, and let's just say CM Punk beat the crap out of Curtis Axel. It was an overall good match, even though there was no ref. It was unsanctioned and everything like that. And funny thing is, nobody was really punished. But let's just see what's going to happen on Raw. Something may happen. Next, there was a match with the Wyatt family. Well, pretty much with Bray Wyatt versus R-Truth. We've seen this before. We know how it was going to end. But I will say this. I love Bray Wyatt. I love everything about Bray Wyatt. He's probably the best psychotic heel I have ever seen in years. And the fact that they have Rowan and Harper in tow, those two really do bring out the creepy. I love everything about the Wyatt family, and it was a given that Bray Wyatt was going to go over R-Truth, even though R-Truth practically needs it more than anything else. But moving on from there, we end up seeing that there's going to be a new tag team that's going to be making their debut soon, the Los Menadores, or Los Menadors, or whatever. Another gimmick tag team, which shows that they're trying to do something with the tag team division, which is awesome, because they really do need to bring it up. It was dying for a very long time. Not as bad as the Divas division, but it was dying, and it seems like they're really trying to hype up their tag teams, which makes me happy. Which actually leads towards a mid-card tag team match between 3MB and 3MB and the Usos. That was a great match. I like it, and it really makes me happy that they're trying to do something with the tag team division. They're trying to have more gimmicks out there to make it a little bit more fun, and then they're actually trying to bring more tag teams in. I'm hoping they'll have a tag team tournament soon, which actually will not diminish the value of the belts. From the previous events that happened on SummerSlam between The Miz and Fandango, we actually did have, well, not entirely a match between the both of them, but we had a match between The Miz and Wade Barrett. It's a shame what they're doing to Wade Barrett. I've said this many times. The guy should have been champion by now instead of IC champion. He should be the World Heavyweight Champion because he represents the belt well. But unfortunately, he was in a match with The Miz, which happens to be a very good match. And just when Wade Barrett, you think he was going to tap out and The Miz was going to win, here comes Fandango pretty much with a leg drop to the head. Honestly, I'm excited about this because this is a great mid-card feud. It really is. Between Fandango and The Miz, they're going to bring some kind of flavor back to the mid-card, and they really do. Even though they're not in the top running, the top main people, you still want to bring some flavor back to the mid-card and have some people to root for. You want to root for these people, seriously. And I'm really excited about what this feud may bring and how much hype is going to be for the next pay-per-view. They may not be at Night of Champions, but they'll probably be at the pay-per-view after that. Okay, guys. I've been holding this in practically throughout this entire review. This leads to the main event of the night. The main event, the corporate takeover. Let's face it, we all know that Triple H now is a heel. We all know that Randy Orton now is a heel. And we all know that all the McMahons have been heels for years. And pretty much Triple H has invited everybody in the back room and in the locker room to come out and hear what he has to say about what he did. Now, here's the thing that really bugs me the most. He did practically everything in his power to legitimize the reason on why he made Randy Orton the champion. This is what bothers me. Whoever created this storyline completely forgot about what happened in the past. Randy Orton completely went psycho and took out every ounce, every person in the McMahon family. He scared Stephanie away from her position of being a GM. Not only that, he DDT'd her in the middle of the ring and kissed her on the mouth in front of Triple H. Then he punt kicked Vince McMahon in the head, practically taking him out for a very long time. And we all know that he had something going on. He had a feud with Shane when Shane was there at the time. He practically took out every person in the McMahon family. And then practically nearly made Triple H have a nervous breakdown to whether he had to have a match with him to calm him out. And not only that, he invaded his house to literally beat the crap out of him after what he did. So why in the world are you trying to legitimize to us that this guy represents your company after everything he did to your family? That was pretty much the biggest gripe I had. Whoever started this storyline did not go back and do their research. They just completely thrown it in there because they thought it made sense. It would only make sense if that didn't exist. But that's archived. You can actually see that on video. It doesn't make any sense to have that in the storyline. It was stupid. I'm sorry. It was dumb. But if that didn't exist and they had that for the night, it would make sense and it would be practically the great segment of the night. And I would pretty much not gripe about it. But since that does exist, it was dumb. I'm sorry. It was stupid. It really was. And now Daniel Bryan is the only target because he has a beard. Yeah. Either or, guys. Regardless of how I do not like the overall results of the main event, I will say that this was a really good, it was a solid show. I happen to like the show a lot. It pretty much stayed with the whole theme of the corporate takeover, as well as try to bring up a lot of new feuds between in the mid card, as well as tag teams starting to come up. And the divas are definitely starting to shine a lot more, even though the crowd is not taking them seriously. But regardless of that, it was an overall solid show. I liked it, and even though I have issues with the ending, if the past part didn't exist, then I wouldn't have a problem with it. But I want to hear how you guys feel about Raw as a whole. Leave a comment in the comment section below, or send a video response on how you feel Raw should have went, how you feel it could have went, or how you feel if it was good or not. It should be the way it is. This is Nature Girl 30 signing off. Peace out. Later.